45 lakh production. In 2016, Telangana produced a whopping 263 lakh metric tons of paddy. In 2022-23, Harita Haram, another pioneering initiative of the state government, has become the third largest afforestation effort in human history, with over 2.7 billion saplings planted across a million acres. This remarkable initiative underscores the state's unwavering commitment to environmental sustainability and creating a greener future. Telangana has made remarkable strides in enhancing oilseed and oil palm productivity, with visionary leadership driving the ambitious Telangana State Oil Palm Mission. This mission aims to bring 20 lakh acres of land under oil palm cultivation in the state, ensuring self-sustainability for the country, generating significant capital investments, and creating employment opportunities for over 2 lakh individuals. Telangana is a major producer of diversified oilseed crops such as rice bran, cottonseed, groundnut, soybean, castor, and sunflower. Telangana has also been ranked at the top in terms of productivity of oilseeds and oil palm among states in India in recent years. Telangana is poised to become the new hub for oilseeds in India, further driving the growth of the agricultural sector in the state. Telangana is poised to become a global leader in blue food production with 91 reservoirs and more than 28,000 tanks and ponds. Sustainably and inclusively. Has been developed at the Mid-Mangan Reservoir in the Sila district with a projected production of more than metric tons of export quality freshwater fish from each culture and other intensive culture practices. Milk production in the state has increased by 37% over the past 8 years with the adoption of modern technology such as sex-starting steaming. And milk production in the state is poised to take a quantum jump in the coming years. The meticulous planning of the Animal Husbandry Department of Ghana distribution also witnessed a remarkable increase, paving the way for the state's victorious food revolution. Telangana today ranks first in sheep population, surpassing several other states in recent years. Telangana is on the path to achieving unprecedented success in revolutionizing its agriculture and food processing sectors in the years to come. A key component of this vision is the focus on value addition, which aims to drive economic growth of farmers by promoting food processing. Over the last 8 years, the food processing sector has seen the creation of a fixed capital base of more than rupees 7,000 crores, creating employment for more than 80,000 personnel. From India's largest ice cream manufacturing plant to more than 2,500 micro-food processing enterprises being established in the state, Telangana today presents an opportunity for everyone to prosper, big or small. The 2,600 Raitu Vedikas, agriculture extension officers, and 4 lakh self-help groups are geared towards connecting the farmers in the state with the food processing industry of the state, providing plug-and-play supply chain to any new industry. Chief Minister KTR's brainchild, Special Food Processing Zones, aims to bring 10,000 acres under food processing industries by 2024-25. These zones will encompass rice mills, pulse processing units, and oilseed processing units, and include facilities for fruits, flowers, vegetables, meat, chicken, fish, and dairy products. Telangana, the investor-friendly state of India, presents an attractive investment opportunity for businesses and investors looking to be part of a program. Dynamic agricultural and food processing landscape. Join us in shaping the future of Telangana's agri-goods sectors and be part of our success story. I now request Dr. Ramesh Chansari, member NITI Aayog, please address the audience. Honorable listeners, the cabinet of state of Telangana, especially Shri Ramarao ji, with whom I interact. Country who have aspiration like India to become, they are frustrated by the fact that manufacturing sector is not offering so old theories given by economists like Lewis that people will move out from agriculture to manufacturing, etc., is either not happening or happening at a very slow pace. So people are looking back to create decent jobs in agriculture itself. Thirdly, out of 17 SDGs goal, 11 SDGs goal are directly or indirectly related to agriculture. Again, there is realization with UN that SDG agenda cannot be fulfilled if we are not fix problem in agriculture sector. So looking at the overall environment, because I have to be brief in this session, I will elaborate my views in the subsequent session. I, in some of the session, have started mentioning that we need to prepare a different type of vision for agriculture. I have been trying to create that kind of vision in the center, but I feel happy that there is recognition to have that kind of vision in the state of Telangana, and this conference is a step in that direction. You may agree with me or you may not agree with me today. I visualize a world where everything that human being needs, except those products which involve mineral and metal, will be produced in agriculture. And that is what will ultimately lead to farm manufacturing. And that, I think, is the road toward prosperity. The road enunciated or charted out by Arthur Lewis no more holds, because manufacturing we have seen in India that despite Make in India, PLI and so much of push, we are not having the kind of growth that we need in manufacturing, whereas in agriculture you just find that we are already number one in many areas, especially in milk. We are producing 24% of the total milk produced in the world. So I think you have kept a session how to keep Make India as a bird power in agriculture. This is the route which we should follow for inclusive goal and for making India a Viksit Bharat during Amrit Kal. Once again, I congratulate the state to organize this event. The last point which I want to mention in the presence of Honorable Cabinet Ministers,
guests, invitees, friends of media, a very good morning to all of you. A very good morning to all of you. Hope you can reciprocate by clapping. I'm extremely happy. I wholeheartedly convey my thanks on behalf of farmers of the state, on behalf of Agriculture Department, and on my behalf personally to the Honorable Minister for Industry, Sri KTR Garu, for making such a wonderful event today here, which has invited more than 100 CEOs from different fields, particularly agri sector and allied sectors, for the first edition of this food conclave in the capital of Telangana state. This will definitely boost the confidence of the farmers. This will inspire further confidence among the farmers. The farming and agriculture has been on the top of the agenda of the government led by Honorable Minister, Chief Minister Sri KTR Garu, who himself is a farmer, who is the leader of farmers of the state, who is the champion of farmers for the country in the days to come. You all know that the state of Telangana has been carved out 9 years ago with lot of protracted struggle. The state. The premise for the agitation of the people of this area is well known to the world. When the state was carved out, particularly I refer only to the agriculture sector, the plight, the misery, the sufferings that were there hitherto, and now we have climbed to a stage where we can proudly say that the state of Telangana is a role model, particularly in the agriculture sector, to the entire nation. I may refer to some of the victorious things that the government of Telangana leadership of Sri KTR Garu has achieved during the last 9 years. As of 2014, the cultivated area was 1 crore 31 lakh acres, and by now 22-23, it is increased to 2 crore 20 lakh acres. The grain production in 2014 was only 68 lakh metric tons, but it has been increased to 2 crore 70 lakh metric tons. The area under cotton cultivation was 41 lakh acres in 2014. Now it has increased to additionally 44%. Cotton production was 35 lakh bales during 14-15, and now it is 64 lakh bales. The procurement of cotton, of course, it's very huge. So far, 1 crore 59 lakh crores have been spent on irrigation projects. Not only irrigation in order to develop the agriculture sector, there is investment in the irrigation, there is investment in power subsidy given to the farmers, there is direct investment subsidy given to the farmers by way of Raita Bandhu, which is amounting to 65,000 crores for the last 5 years. Putting together the entire investment that has been pumped into the agriculture sector during the last 9 years is 4 lakh 65,000 crores of amount has been spent to develop the agriculture sector in the state, providing 24 hours free power supply to the farmers. Nowhere in the country, it's only one and one state where 24 hours power supply is given to the farmers. We have done loan waiver to the farmers. The ultimate aim and object of the Chief Minister is to see that the farmers should come out of the trauma, farmers should come out of the debt trap, farmers should be self-sufficient. Once the farmers are on their foot, they can sustain, they will sustain and they will make the whole society to sustain. We have almost directly and indirectly under the occupation of agriculture, there is almost 2 crore 40 lakh population engaged in the activity of agriculture, directly and indirectly, agriculture and all its sectors. If once this particular sector is strengthened, almost 60% of the population is made self-reliant, and the focus can be had on the other sectors, that is the perspective of the chief minister. That is how the per capita income has got to increase from 1,12,162 rupees in 2014 to now each cluster has 5,000 acres of farming, and each 5,000 acres of farming is supervised by a special officer there under that particular cluster, and we are focused as to which crop has to be grown in which area, which soil suits for which crop. Very minutely we are focusing and carrying out the agriculture. The usage of fertilizers, usage of pesticides, what should be the rational usage. There is constant education to the farmers so that the agriculture produce that comes for export oriented production of agriculture in the state. That will definitely attract the food processing sector. The state of Telangana is most preferred in the entire world. Telangana has been the seed capital of the country. Telangana has been exporting its quality seed of paddy, soya, etc. to more than 17, 18 countries and to the entire India, and the quality seed of Telangana is most preferred. That is the reason Telangana has become a seed bowl for the entire country. We have seed processing plants, we have seed producers, we have seed chain, we have seed logistics. In and around Hyderabad city, there is a direct employment that is created through these seed processing units and seed units to a tune of more than 4 lakh employees directly. And now time has come to establish more and more food processing units importance of food. We can dispense with anything. We can dispense with our luxurious items. We can dispense with our day-to-day consumer items. We can dispense with anything in our life, but we cannot dispense with our food. Food is they need food, and ultimately this food comes only out of agriculture. Except the hunting animals, every creature has to depend on the agriculture only. Agriculture provides food, therefore that food has got so much of importance. And now, in order to suit to the changing conditions of the world, the food has to be transformed into various processes, and ultimately that has to cater the world needs. We all know that the world population has already crossed 800 crores, and of course we are the most popular populace now. More than 140 crores, we have already crossed China. Therefore, to cater the needs of the food all over the world in the days to come, we are the only people, we are the only area, we are the only land in the entire world that is most suitable for production of agriculture produces and horticulture produces, and also as narrated in the video, the production of all other items which are shown as revolutions: pink revolution, yellow revolution, blue revolution, white revolution, green revolution. Therefore, Indian conditions that are most suitable for all those revolutions have really become successful in the state of Telangana under the able leadership of our Chief Minister and our KTR Garu. This will definitely transform into a greater food processing center in the entire country. I thank Mr. Ramesh Chandji who has rightly remarked about the potential that the state of Telangana has got in the entire country now, and the vision that Telangana government has under the leadership of KCR Garu to develop this industry. Therefore, wanted to thank and congratulate Sri K.T. Ramarao Garu for this revolutionary, visionary steps to hold this conclave, which will definitely throw a very useful light. I am given to understand that about more than 7,000 crores of investment MOUs have already been arrived at, and it is estimated to provide an employment of nearly 50,000 to the people, and it is a great happening. Definitely, we will be looking forward for more and more investments and more establishments of the food processing units here in the state of Telangana. Of course, we have many more other victories that have to be placed before you, but however, keeping in view the time prescribed for me, the need of the hour. So what do we need to do, and what are the possible growth drivers? From the standpoint and from the perspective of the Telangana State Agriculture Department, I would like to place following issues before you for debate and discussion, and also to throw some light. Invariably, we will have changing of food habits and increased disposable income. So, government has to support, and the policies accordingly have to be framed. Active role of large players and MSMEs is required. Preference for healthy and nutritional foods is the perspective of the present day generation. To suit the thinking process of the present and future generations, the processing has to take place. We have huge potential in Telangana. The prospects are very wide. we have increased inland fisheries potential, already having revived tanks and having already built new reservoirs. We are the number one inland fisheries state in the country. We need to double the production of the milk, and we have potential for that. Already the sheep population has increased. We are number one in the sheep population in the entire country. The government on subsidy is distributing sheep to the sheep growers so that their income will be increased and the population of sheep will automatically increase. And I was just referring and telling to my Honorable Mr. KTR Garu that the average meat consumption in the country is 6 kg per annum, whereas average consumption of meat in Telangana is 24 kg per annum. So it has, it is not only showing the affordability of the people, definitely government has deliberately brought the proteinous food to the doorsteps of the people. Their affordability and their interest to eat meat will definitely produce the next generation, a healthy generation. That is what is required. Without healthy generation, how much of wealth and how much of prosperity you create, without there being a healthy generation to enjoy it, that would go waste. Therefore, the fishery fish, the abundant availability of fish in the rural areas has increased the health of the rural people like anything. We often go to the maternity hospitals that are maintained by government, especially with special focus. The maternity and child care centers that are beautifully developed in the entire state across all the districts. So whenever we visit the hospitals, we feel with great proud that the young born children, just born children and their mothers are so healthy, and the doctors they say that it is because of the nutrition that the mother takes during her pregnancy that the child is so healthy, sir. We really feel very happy. See, unless you keep the food rightly available to the people, unless you make the people to afford themselves to have their choice food, their quality food, you cannot expect a healthy generation for the future. So these are all the parameters how you are building a next generation. And warehouse capacity with cold storages has to be increased. That we are already on the agenda. The international airport with 1,50,000 metric tons cargo capacity is already available to the industry. We have single window clearances under Telangana industrial policy, the best policy in the world so far. We have already developed food parks, logistic parks, and supply chain infrastructure under the leadership of Sri KT Ramarao Garu. Honorable Chief Minister has already directed various departments to identify more than 10,000 acres of land in and around all the district headquarters, present district headquarters, so that agro food processing, special food processing zones are established over there, and they will be allotted to the food processing units. And we have lot of potential for development of the food crops which are mostly needed across the world, like sweet orange, turmeric, chili, lemon, grapes, mango, peanut, pomegranate, poultry, rice, maize, ginger, banana, papaya, onion, sunflower, oil palm, soya bean, inland fisheries. These are all the areas where focus can be had and food processing units can be set up basing on these raw materials. So we do have certain challenges. We can easily overcome them. How to address them? Supply chains must be more resistant to global disruptions like pandemic, climate. Surplus management and food wastage reduction. Steps have to be taken and emphasized. increased consumer demand on traceability and food safety, prolonged shelf life and optimizing energy usage, innovation in low-cost indigenous technologies, establishment of strong backward linkages to ensure food security, improved access to financial resources, cost competitiveness, innovations in productions, and the innovative steps to be taken, explore ancient recipes, use locally sourced ingredients, research on alternative proteins, popularize regional cuisines, revolution in packing. If all these challenges can be taken up and met, ultimately we will be the number one in the entire world in the area of food processing. And definitely I hope and I believe very strongly that in the future to come, it is only states like Telangana, leadership like Telangana will be able to provide the quality food to the world, and the world will definitely be dependent on the food items of Telangana. And I hope that it will be achieved with your support, with your endeavor, and I wish you all the best. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Agriculture Minister, Government of Telangana, Shri Niranjan Reddy Garu, to please launch the Agri Innovation Challenge. I request Dr. Shanta Thotum, Chief Innovation Officer, Telangana State Innovation Cell, and team to please join us on stage. The Grand Challenge will be conducted by Telangana State Innovation Cell in collaboration with Telangana State Food Processing Society. The aim of the challenge is to identify and enable adoption of B2G startups to present their solutions and value propositions to the Telangana State Food Processing Society. The objective is to ease the startup procurement process by the government and enhance standards of local food processing businesses by inculcating innovation. Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Animal Husbandry and Fisheries Minister, Government of Telangana, Shri T. Srinivas Yadav Garu, to please address the audience.
Good morning, respected dignitaries on the dais, Sri Honorable Minister Sri KT Ramarao Garu, Industries, IT, Municipal Minister, Honorable Minister Niranjan Reddy Garu, Honorable Secretaries Adarsena Garu, Jayesh Ranjan Garu, Raghunandan Rao Garu, Ramesh Garu, Akhil Kumar Garu, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Government of Telangana and personally, I welcome all the participants for the Food Conclave 2023 hosted by Government of Telangana in the historic city of Hyderabad. The main objective of the program is to discuss the strategies for improvement of food security to mankind through green revelation, yellow revelation, white revelation, pink revelation, and blue revelation. Under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Chief Minister Sri K. Chandrasekhar Rao, the Telangana state has made huge progress in agriculture dairy, fisheries, poultry, and food processing sectors. The state has emerged to first position the country from the 10th position in gross state domestic product. Agriculture and allied sectors have developed by planned use of water resources, electricity, and other natural resources, providing many opportunities to the youth in the state. Food processing, fishery sector have gained momentum in Telangana state. There are 27.52 lakh people depend on livestock sector for their livelihood in, in Telangana state. Telangana state has introduced white revelation, pink revelation, and blue revelation, and also improved dairy industry, sheep and goat farming, and fish sector in the state. Telangana state is in 13th position in the country in milk production. After formation state, government has introduced various welfare programs to develop dairy sector in the state. The milk production in the state has increased by 37% in the last 8 years. With the help of modern technology, financially help to farmers, fodder cultivation, and artificial insemination. The government has introduced milk incentive scheme by providing 4 rupees liter during the 2014, support the farmers pouring milk to cooperative dairies of the state. 42 mobile dairy parlor have been introduced along with online marketing of milk to provide easy access milk all the time. 100 mobile veterinary units have been introduced to serve the livestock at farmer at doorstep on free of cost for the first time in the country. Hygienic merit frozen cement doses are being produced at frozen semen bull stations, Karimnagar to produce 20 lakh frozen semen doses per annum for providing quality of livestock population in order to increase milk production. Government of Telangana is setting up a mega dairy project with an outlay of rupees 246.50 crores. This project is aimed to process 5 lakh litre of milk per day. The encourage farmers to take up dairy farming. 59,662 milk animals have been distributed to the dairy farmers. After information of Telangana state, the government has focused on sheep and goat population in the state. The state occupies 5th position in the meat production in the country. Telangana state stands first position in sheep population in the country. Main source of meat in our state from chicken 45%, sheep 33%, buffalo 13%, goat 8%, and pig 1%. Sheep rearing development program as introduced in 2017 improve the social economic condition of the people depending on the sector and also meat production. During the first phase of the program, 3.93 lakhs beneficiaries were provided with sheep units. During the second phase in planned to cover 3,38,000 lakh beneficiaries. Telangana state occupies third position
in egg production in the country. Egg are being supplied pregnant women through Anganwadi centers and to the school children staying in the government hostels. Value addition and food processing of milk and meat has generated a fixed capital of 7,000 crores and by providing employment to 80,000 youth in the state. It is a plan to develop food processing units in 10,000 acres of land by the end of 2024 and 25. At present, there are 91 reservoirs and 28,938 perennial and seasonal tanks, 7.3 lakhs hectares water spread area suitable for fish culture in the state. Fish production in Telangana state has doubled from 1.98 lakhs as tons with a value of 2,252 crores in the year 2016 and 17 to 3.9 lakhs tons with the rupees 859.95 crores 2001, 2021 and 22. During the current year 2023 we have achieved 4.38 lakh ton of fish production. First state to stock 414.13 crores fish seed with any expenditure rupees 348.93 crores on 100% grant all open water bodies since 2016 and 17 till date. First state to stock 28.34 crores freshwater prawn juveniles in the suitable water bodies with expenditure 64.66 crores 2017-18 to till date. The biggest aqua hub in underway at Mid-Monero Dam of Rajanna Sirisilla district with an expected production of 2.24 lakhs tons per the annum, creating about 5,000 direct employment. It is the largest freshwater aqua hub in the world. The project consists of fish product processing unit in 300 acres and fish culture in a 150 acres. Other activities in the project include fish seed culture, fish seed production, cage culture and fish processing units. The project provided good opportunities to local fishermen and youth. With an aim to achieve overall development of fisheries in the state, the government of Telangana has spent 1,000 crores under integrated development of fisheries from 2017-18 to 2022-23. I am happy to share all the above programs have been introduced and implemented with the guidance and support of beloved Honorable Chief Minister Sri K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu. I wish you the convention a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Animal Husbandry and Fisheries Minister, Government of Telangana, Shri T. Srinivas Yadav Garu, to please launch Aqua Hub.
under the leadership of visionary leader, Honorable Chief Minister Shri K. Chandrasekhar Rao, Telangana, which has become synonymous with several innovative and first-of-its-kind projects in the country, will soon be home to the world's largest integrated freshwater aqua hub at Mid-Maner Dam in Rajanna Siricilla district. The aqua hub at Mid-Maner Reservoir is composed of 300 acres of processing area on land sitting at the full tank level of the reservoir, along with 150 acres of water spread area, 1% of 5,600 hectares of total water spread area dedicated for cage culture in the reservoir. It will encompass all activities including fish seed production, feed production, cage culture, and fish processing, among others. Being developed in a vertically integrated approach, AquaHub will have its own dedicated hatcheries, feed production units, fish processing plants, export-oriented logistics and testing, and R&D facilities. On the initiative of the IT and Industries Minister, KT Ramarao, Fish in India Private Limited, Indian subsidiary of Fish & Co., one of the largest importers of tilapia into the US, Rajanna Aqua, unit of Ananda Group, and Mangpuri Aqua came forward as key players with a total capital investment of rupees 1,300 crores for setting up their processing facilities in the Aqua Hub. The project will generate additional fish production of approximately 1.2 lakh metric tons per annum. Hatcheries in the Aqua Hub will produce 5,750 lakh seedlings per annum, and at its full capacity, Aqua Hub will consume more than 2 lakh metric tons of fish feed made from agricultural raw materials such as rice, maize, groundnut, soya bean, and poultry waste, supporting the local farmers. The fish culture will be carried out in a closed cage and will not interfere with the seeding and fishing activities of the fishermen's societies. Further, since the activities involved will require fisheries-related skills, it will present a great employment opportunity for the local fishermen's community. The units coming up in the Aqua Hub will also provide buyback opportunities for the local farmers for the fish production. The project will generate annual exports of more than rupees 1,000 crores. It will also create employment for 4,800 persons in direct mode and 7,000 persons indirectly. Telangana is setting new standards in the promotion of the Blue Revolution, Pink Revolution, and White Revolution, besides making unprecedented progress in irrigation and farmers' welfare. The integrated freshwater aqua hub will be another major step that will complement the government's moves for all-around development.
Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Minister for Industries and Commerce, IT, ENC, MA and UD, Government of Telangana, Shri KT Ramarao Garu, please.
A very good morning to all of you. I sincerely thank the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Shri Niranjan Reddy Garu, for joining us today as a guest of honor. I also thank our Honorable Minister, Shri Talasani Srinivas Yadav Garu, Minister of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries, for gracing the occasion as a guest of honor as well. I'd like to also acknowledge the presence of a very eminent personality, the member of Niti Aayog, Dr. Ramesh Chand. Thank you, sir, for your steadfast support. Thank you for your steadfast encouragement. Thank you to our Special Chief Secretary, Sri Adar Sinha ji, who's in charge of Fisheries, Dairy, Animal Husbandry departments. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Jayesh Ranjan Garu and my Director, Food Processing, Akhil Garu. Thank you for organizing this wonderful event. I also would like to welcome Shri Raghunandan Rao Garu, who is the Secretary of Agriculture, who is also the Secretary of Horticulture. Thank you very much, Raghu Garu, for joining us. I would also like to acknowledge J. Satyanarayan Garu, a very senior man who was responsible, in fact, for those of you who do not know, For Aadhaar, he led the team Aadhaar for about 3 years. Thank you, Satyanarayan Garu, for joining us. Mr. Suvarna Garu, the CEO of NFDB, the National Fisheries Development Board, which is also located in Hyderabad. I welcome you as well. To all the delegates, to all the members who are participating from various parts of India, I welcome you all. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of our Telangana State Seed Corporation Chairman, former Member of Legislative Assembly, Sri Kondabala Koteshwara Garu. Thank you, Koteshwara Garu, for joining us. To all my friends from the media, thank you for covering this event. We welcome you all to this wonderful city of Hyderabad. Food Conclave 2023 is just the beginning of a larger story, a larger ambition that we have for the state of Telangana, that we have for the country at large. In fact, as was being mentioned by both ministers, Minister Agriculture, Niranjan Reddy Garu, and Minister Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries, Sri Talasani Srinivas Yadav Garu. Telangana today is ushering in 5 revolutions all at once. This might seem a bit far-fetched. This might seem a bit improbable for those of you who are from out of town. I would urge you to spend time. I would urge you to meet with us, meet with our able principal secretaries, meet with our departments, understand what is going on in Telangana and how this has happened over the last 8.5 years. I would also like to quickly make a point that this food conclave is not just about some business opportunities and trade opportunities. This is also an opportunity for us to make our country truly a one-stop destination in terms of securing the food needs of the rest of the world. Because I think once you start seeing one state coming out with some best practices, delivering the goods, then I think the rest of the country, rest of India, rest of 27 states will also have a lot to pick up and learn from and a lot to imbibe also. We have an action-packed day today, and I promise you that this will become an annual fixture. Telangana Food Conclave, the Food Conclave will be an annual fixture, and it will become a go-to destination for all the food industry leaders in the country and also hopefully down the road at some point for the world as well. So we have an action plan day today with almost 21 panel discussions, lots to learn from, a lot of industry leaders, 100 plus CEOs, experts, thought leaders in the agri-food space. We also have the 5 flourish into long-term partnerships and building a comprehensive ecosystem in the state of Telangana. The state already has chosen food processing as a thrust area. Among the 14 thrust areas that we have chosen to promote investments, food processing is an extremely important sector. Just alluding to what the Honorable Minister for Agriculture was pointing out, let me quickly tell you that Telangana today is a seed bowl of India. We are home to some of the largest seed processing companies. We are also the poultry capital of India. We were also, in fact, at one point of time when I was growing up, when I was in school, we were also the nutraceuticals hub in India. Unfortunately, we don't retain the position anymore. We wish to get it back. We also, in fact, are the #1 state for inland fisheries in India today. We are also the state which has doubled and today stands tallest among all Indian states in terms of livestock population, especially sheep and goat, in the entire country. We also have, in fact, become one of the leaders in dairy industry. I think with all these trends, with the kind of expansion that has happened in agriculture sector, with the kind of efforts that have gone in animal husbandry, fisheries, dairy, horticulture, I think the opportunities are aplenty. We have a dedicated agriculture university, Professor Jayashankar Agriculture University, right next to Hyderabad. We also have a dedicated horticulture university named after Konda Lakshman Bapuji. We also have a veterinary university named after Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao Garu. We have a forest university, and we also now will be getting an aqua university. Point I'm trying to make is, not only is a revolution being ushered in, not only is the revolution being ushered in by way of produce, by way of all the additional harvesting that is happening in the state, we're also creating an ecosystem that will create talented workforce, talented youth, which will ensure that whatever investment you are choosing to make will continue to remain a long-term bet on the state. Over the last 5 years, the state has added more than 7,000 crores of fixed capital base to the food processing capacities in Telangana. We proudly host some of the biggest names in the industry in the world in our state. Coca-Cola, ITC, PepsiCo, Mars, Hudson, and the list is large. I can go on. There's the Indian MNCs, there's the local Indian players, and there's also foreign multinationals who have made the state their choice of destination over the last 8 years. In order to further boost the food processing sector in our state, our visionary Chief Minister, Sri K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu, has come out with a unique idea of setting up special food processing zones. We have already acquired 10,000 acres of land in the hinterland of Telangana, in the rural areas of Telangana, and we are ready to roll it out to all of you with packaged, customized incentives. In fact, the one thing I'll tell you, our industrial policy is one of the best in the country, and it has catapulted us to the top of the league on the ease of doing business rankings. If I have to quickly tell you in 3 words or 3 sentences on what makes our industrial policy special, our industrial policy is called as TS-IPASS. TS-IPASS. TS-IPASS literally stands for Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. What that means is, if any of you is interested in investing in my state, you actually don't need to meet any of us on the dais here. You do not need to meet a minister. You don't need to meet the principal secretary or even the director of food processing. If you have a piece of land already acquired in the state, you can hit the ground running. You can declare yourself as being a law-abiding enterprise, and you can start the construction of your factory on day 1 by self-certification process. This is backed by statute. This is backed by legislation. But when you start construction, what we would of course require is that you submit an application online, because we need to know who is doing what in my state, in our state. So when you submit an application online about the nature of the business, the investment, the activities that you're going to be engaged in, the number of employees that will be working for you, etc., the taxes you'll be paying, etc., etc., we will get that application from the TS-IPASS portal. We will promise it in 15 days, again, as mandated by legislation, the TS-IPASS Act. If we do not give you an answer in 15 days, a yes or a no answer in 15 days, on the 16th day, backed by legislation again, it's an automatic approval, it's a deemed approval. No other state in India will tell you that. It's an automatic yes. And the third and most important thing, if you ask me, we can actually tailor-make incentives for you. We will ensure that you receive the best of support, and we will tailor-make a package of incentives to make you attractive and competitive in this very competitive world. So if you are willing to share with us what my competing states are offering you, for instance, if you're choosing between 2 states to make an investment, if you are willing to share those details of what is being offered to you, all I can tell you is TS-IPASS also enables me, the industries minister, to either meet or beat the best offer you have in India. Now that is the kind of flexible policy making which has helped Telangana garner the #1 position in India today. Not only the policy, we also have earmarked land. We also have made it easy for you to get approvals. And we also have created, of course, you need to procure the raw material. You need to have access to the raw material. And we would love to see our farmers prosper, cherish and flourish. So therefore, we will also facilitate backward integration. We'll ensure that the sourcing can be done locally. We have more than 25,000 farmer producer organizations called as Raitu Bandhu Samitis in our state. We will ensure that you work closely with our farmer producer organizations to make it a wonderful, long-lasting relationship. We also will ensure that the self-help group women organizations in Telangana, which are extremely robust. In fact, just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, the self-help group women in rural Telangana, in the 12,769 villages that we have, avail loans and bank linkages to the tune of almost 15,000 crores per annum. And their repayment is 99.99%, if you can believe it. Now that's the potential of these self-help group women who are extremely strongly federated. Now how is that going to help you? By way of ensuring that these women who are extremely ambitious and entrepreneurial, we will ensure that they will work in tandem with you to create a strong workforce, to create a strong supply chain, both forward and backward. We can, in fact, create a win-win situation for the industry, for the SHGs, and also for the farming community. We are also committed to ensuring that our small entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs flourish in our state. As of now, we have more than 2,500 micro and small entrepreneurs in the food processing sector, and these are all ably guided by Agriculture Department, Industries Department, and of course, Animal Husbandries and Fisheries Department as well. We have some very unique entrepreneurial initiatives like the Dalit Bandhu scheme, where Dalits are given a grant of 10 lakh rupees per family. Now this also gives you an impetus. I'll give you an example. In my constituency where I represent from, Sirsila, we had brought in this program called Dalit Bandhu, and in fact, we had asked the local beneficiaries to identify business opportunities and how they can harness this money that has been given by the government and how they can multiply it manifold. 4 beneficiaries had come together in a mandal called Ellareddypet in a village called Dumala. Government had given them 30 lakh rupees. They pooled that money together. They have applied for subsidies. They have applied for all the benefits that they are eligible for. They approached banks and they have created a rice mill with 3 crore total cost and total investment. And now today, it's a shining example of what can be done truly in a public-private partnership mode. Now, this is something I think that the rest of the country also can learn from. How to promote micro-entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, and marginalized social entrepreneurship as well from the grassroots level. With industry-friendly policies, robust and fast-growing raw material base, fast-growing world-class infrastructure, and active facilitation and enablement by the government, not just to set up investment in a factory, but also to operate and ensure continuity in a competitive manner. Telangana today is the best place to invest in the entire country. For those of you who are from outside of Hyderabad, outside of Telangana, I keep telling my friends from across India, Telangana is where Hyderabad and Telangana is where the north of India meets the south of India. It is where biology meets technology. It is where dosa, because this is food conclave. I think it is where paratha meets dosa. It is where I think sambar and idli and everything else that you would want to see in the south and the north, all of that converges. It is where the 5 revolutions are converging in India today. The green revolution, which is ushered in, as was mentioned by our agriculture minister. Our paddy production was 68 lakh metric tons back in 2014. And today, what we procure in terms of paddy from the farmers, and this is again by the Civil Supplies Department alone, is almost 2.68 crore metric tons. It is almost quintupled. Now that is Telangana for you in terms of agriculture expansion. Our cotton, in fact, is the best quality cotton in the country. This is not me saying it. The long staple cotton of Telangana, the Southern India Mills Association, recognizes that this gives immense opportunity for you to actually work with the textile industry, with growing hybrid cotton, high yielding cotton, long staple cotton, and make it a very lucrative proposition for you to invest in this sector as well. Let me also quickly tell you, we stand number one in inland fisheries. We have in fact turned around our government dairy. Vijaya Dairy was in losses when this government came into office. Today, in fact, Vijaya Dairy gives us back a dividend. I think they've given us a dividend of more than 30 plus crores in the last several years. Now, this is the story of Telangana, where all these 5 revolutions are also converging and give you an immense opportunity for you to invest and to possibly prosper. Like I said, we have not only the best policies, we also have today an enabling ecosystem, and we would love to see, over the course of the day, on how many engagements and how many MOUs and how many investment proposals that we will receive. I was told by Akhil that already in principle, we have received interest to the tune of almost 7,000 crores of rupees, creating nearly 50,000 new jobs in the state of Telangana. We will share the details over the course of the day, but I'm very hopeful that with sustained focus, with a clear vision led by our Honorable Chief Minister, Telangana can truly not only take to sloganeering of doubling farmers' income, etc. Because we have to remember, mere sloganeering doesn't really work. Just a slogan saying, I'll double the farmer's income will not work. It has to be backed by policies. It has to be backed by robust economic support. And that's exactly what Telangana does. And I promise you that your experience today in the city of Hyderabad, that this food conclave will be wonderful. I look forward to seeing you all during the course of the day. Thank you very much. Jai Telangana. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, honorable ministers, respected dignitaries. We will now proceed for the inaugural panel. Please allow us 5 minutes to reset, and we'll see you here in 5. Thank you. Just give me a thumbs up. I request Dr. M.V. Gupta Garu, Padma Shri, World Food Prize Laureate, former ADG, World Fish Center, to also join me on stage, please. Can everyone please settle down? We have the inaugural panel starting now. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. R.S. Sodhi ji, President, Indian Dairy Association, to please join me on stage. I request everyone to please take your seats. We're going to be starting in 1 minute now. Thank you.
This is also good. So this is good. Okay. Can we request some more mics here, and can we please request all of you to please settle down. We promise you an amazing conversation with the kind of panel that we have here on the stage right now. Also, because this is a televised event, it would be great if you can please keep your phones or silent on vibrate mode.
Is she audible? Is Manisha audible?
I'm not audible. Okay, I was basically requesting everybody to please settle down with the kind of amazing panel that we have here and the kind of conversations that we promise, and we're still envisioning the next 10 years when it comes to food as an industry. Also requesting to put your phones on silent on vibrate mode, because this is a televised panel as it goes ahead. First of all, very, very excited to be part of this food conclave, the first one in Telangana. And as the minister says and promises that this is going to be a recurrent event, we absolutely look forward to that. The who's who of the industry is clearly here. The kind of conversations, and sorry you missed that last evening, but the kind of conversations that we have, or the dinner also yesterday, were very, very encouraging, enthusiastic. And we are hoping that we can carry that forward from here on as well. But I'll start with you first, and you talked about 14 thrust points that you have, and you talked about food processing is what you hope that will continue to surge even much better, higher from here on. You talked about the kind of numbers that we have seen already and the work that is being done right now. But the theme of the panel is envisioning the next decade when it comes to food as an industry. So would you say that the kind of investments, JVs, foreign collaborations, investments that we are doing, is it enough to nurture the next generation of food entrepreneurs and companies?
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, Manisha, because I think it's an extremely important question. You know, if India really has to fulfill its potential, if India really has to deliver on the promise of not just being a self-sufficient country in terms of food security, but also catering to the needs of the world, I think we have to really augment our capacities. We have to do a lot more than what we are currently engaged in. The first thing I would strongly say, while we are doing some things right, I think there are certain things which we can get right. Just to give you a macro picture of what the current situation in the country is. India has about 41 crore acres of land, which is arable, which is suitable for cultivation, which is suitable for agriculture and allied activities. We have more than 1,40,000 TMCs of water. 1,40,000 TMCs of water. A broad approximate number is 1 TMC can irrigate nearly 10,000 acres of land. A very approximate number. Even if you assume for a minute that out of the 140,000 TMCs of water, 70,000 gets evaporated, dried, etc., we still are left with 70,000 TMCs of water, out of which, unfortunately, only 20,000 has been tapped. 50,000 TMCs of water every single year, unfortunately, goes into the oceans, wasted. Now, what needs to happen in India is, while we see the extremes of weather, people talk about climate change all the time. We are seeing extremes of weather. There are areas in India where we are completely dependent on rain, rain-fed crops and rain-fed agriculture. And then there are other areas which are perennially hit by floods and, the deltas, etc., which are perennially struck by abundance of water and abundance of, nature. What we ought to do, like in the case of Telangana, what we have done, we have completed and we have delivered the world's largest lift irrigation project, where we lift water from 82 meters above sea level and lift it all the way to 618 meters above sea level. We have completed this project with an investment of more than 1 lakh crore in a matter of 3.5-4 years. Now, if Telangana, the newest state of India, can do this, why can't the rest of India do it as well? We have irrigated by this project 45 lakh acres of water, 45 lakh acres of land, and all the numbers that you just heard from our ministers in terms of agri expansion, in terms of dairy expansion, in terms of fisheries, in terms of storage capacities, all of this is a result of unwavering support, unflinching commitment to create more and more of these irrigation potential. Now, that is something that the rest of India needs to do. The second thing I'll also mention quickly, if India really has to ensure that we find that rightful spot, we have to focus on post-harvesting and what needs to be done to add value. Because the farmers are extremely hardworking. They are doing their best. With all of our support, in Telangana, we provide 24 hours of free power. We also provide them with quality seeds. We provide them with quality fertilizers. More importantly, we provide them with farm input assistance. We have already provided 65,000 crores of investment, farm input, through a program called as Raitu Bandhu. We are the first in India, in independent India, to have started this program. We have supported 65 lakh farmers over the last 6 years, provided 65,000 crores of farm input, and we also provide a farmer life insurance. We insure all the farmers in our state, 40 lakh plus farmers below the age of 60, to the tune of 5 lakh rupees. What this has done has created confidence in the farming sector among the distressed section that this also can be lucrative, this also can be remunerative. We also purchase all the farm produce directly at their doorstep. Now, what this has literally done is allowed our farmers to work freely without any concerns, and as a result, today Telangana has become the leading paddy producer, with the leading fisheries producing state in the country, etc., etc. The last thing I'll tell you, in 2020, to add value to what our farmers do, we launched a program called as AI for AI, Artificial Intelligence for Agriculture Innovation. How does that help? How does technology, which today literally permeates into every sphere of life, how does it help the farmer? How can it help the farmer? Because our Chief Minister keeps reiterating every single day when we meet him. He says, any technology that does not have a positive societal impact on the common man especially is futile. No matter how fancy it is, no matter how cool it is to talk about a technology, if it does not really have a societal impact in a third world country like India, it's futile. We have used artificial intelligence to detect rainfall patterns. We use artificial intelligence today to identify the possible pests that can come up in an area. We use AI to also gauge soil health. Now, these are the kind of things, innovation through technology, support systems, focus on irrigation. I think these are the things that are going to help India achieve its rightful place. I heard Dr. Ramesh Chand very clearly when he said 20% of world's dairy needs are being, 24% is coming from India. A small country like New Zealand, they have a company called Fonterra. Fonterra alone as a company, it was earlier called New Zealand Dairy Board, that one single company contributes to 8% of New Zealand as a country's GDP. Now imagine what the agri and allied sectors in India can do if we give them that much needed support, because we have 60% of India still engaged in this activity. If only they can be given the support, because it's not fancy, it's not cool, agri, it's not glamorous, it's not space tech, it's not IT, but we need to support them so that they can actually be a game changer for our country, create employment avenues, create revenue, create wealth. Thank you.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, there's so much being done. And Dr. John, this question is to you. And as we look forward, I mean, I want to start from what we are doing right now in sense of policy measures also. There is this, as the conversation has been about doubling farmers' income. And then we have poverty and hunger erosion to be rated as well. There is a target for that too. There is a Garib Kalyan Yojana also happening. There is an ethanol target also there in the market. So there is just so much happening right now. And this is happening because we have seen these problems, these concerns a decade or 2 decades back. But when we talk about the decade forthcoming, how are these policies going to work and what new policies are needed?
Thank you, Manisha. In fact, agriculture is at a stage where we need to bring profound changes in the sector. Otherwise, the potential of the sector will go unharnessed. Let me share with you a few changes which has serious implication for change in policy. Our per capita food production was just 1.2 kg per person per day at the turn of the century. Now we are producing 1.9 kg food per person per day during year 2022, an increase of 50% in 20 years. In the coming years, the growth rate in food production is accelerating, but population growth rate is decelerating. So it implies that 1/3 of the increase in food production in India has to find a market. That market could be overseas market for raw produce. That market could be through food processing. So if we do not pay attention to these things, then I think you will face problem of gluts, pressure on government, give us MSP, cover milk also under MSP, cover mango also under MSP. So therefore, this today's conclave, I feel is very important to prepare a roadmap on how we link agriculture with industry, how we link food production with food processing, so that farmers don't look at government for MSP. They find that by promotion of food processing industry, they are a partner in this growth process. They get better prices. Let me also share another number with you, which I have produced in the Finance Commission report and in some other document also. If you divide agriculture in the 5 segments, fishery, livestock, horticulture, and other crop like wheat, rice, cotton, sugarcane, you will just find that there is a negative relationship between the support given by government to the segment of agriculture and growth rate of that segment. Fishery hardly receive any support of government, like subsidy on import or MSP. The growth rate is in double digit. Then comes livestock. Yes, little bit support here and there, like Telangana also give 4 rupees per liter to help the farmer. Then you find that comes second in the growth rate. Rice, wheat, cotton, where there is maximum growth, free power, fertilizer subsidy, MSP, if you calculate the subsidy content, it is very high. The growth rate is not even 1.5%. So it is the demand which is driving the growth rate in Indian agriculture, and power of demand is much stronger than what farmer get through government support. But we need to create enabling environment for demand side factor to promote income of the farmer. And that is possible, I think, if we go for this linkage, value chain development, export promotions. You also point a little bit toward what is happening to hunger, what is happening to poverty. We do not have a national estimate on these things after 11-12. Currently, the survey is being conducted. Hopefully, by October, November, we will have the fresh estimates. But if per capita food production in the country is increasing by 2.5% consistently year after year, definitely it will reduce the hunger. So it's not that food is just produced and it is going waste. So when we will have some final national estimate, you will find that there is a big change in the hunger, also big change in the incidence of poverty.
Is that not working? Is that not working? So my follow-up question really is about so what many of these schemes would you say 5 years down the lane, pardon me, or 10 years down the lane will get redundant and we need to start looking at newer schemes, newer ways to work from here on?
No, it's not that only old schemes are continuing. Depending upon the situation in the country, there are new schemes. Like we all know that nutrition and climate and sustainability are a serious concern. So we have scheme for millet, promotion of millets. Similarly, we found that efficiency of irrigation was a serious issue. So then there was a scheme, different scheme for irrigation. Similarly, this Matsya Sampada Yojana and like that. So new schemes keep on coming. It is not that they are decided once for all. Even if you look at the budget, you will find that there are many new initiatives that we want to move to digital agriculture. Personal extension is proving very, very costly. It is also very, very slow. So we want to encourage use of digital platform by both public and private sector for dissemination of information, dissemination of technology. Then to attract the agri startup, there is a accelerator fund. Then there is that promotion of 10,000 FPO. So you will see that whatever ecosystem or mix of scheme you are seeing for agriculture and food processing sector, it is dynamic. Some of the old scheme like Rashtriya Krishi Unnati Yojana, but it was flexible and it was preferred by state. It is continuing, but at the same time, as and when the need arise, the new schemes are also coming. I'm sure you will see in future that more emphasis on export-oriented production. So it's a dynamic process, and every time in the budget, you will find that new kind of schemes are announced.
I get that, Dr. John, because I remember 5 years ago we were discussing on how the new generation does not want to come into agriculture. But look at where 5 years have been. Agri-tech companies, startups, and the way the government also has responded to that has been quite positive. Dr. Gupta, this one is to you, and so much conversation about aquaculture and fisheries, and we've seen Telangana actually showcase a very strong number and a lot of initiatives onto that one as well. How do you look at the sector? And when you look at the next 10 years, what is it that you see happening here? What kind of growth are you looking at? What kind of export numbers are you working with?
Okay, I see a lot of contribution from India to the global food supply or fish supply that we can talk about. Recent studies have shown that the fish production has to be increased by double the production by 2050 to meet the increasing population, increasing purchasing power, and also the realization that fish is a better animal protein than any other land-based animals. So we have been talking about here, we are producing about 17 million tons of fish now, and the government of India says by 22 million tons. But I think there is a more potential, not only achieving 22 million tons, much more than what we have. Because I'm telling this one, because we have vast aquatic resources which have been either unutilized or underutilized. And also our per hectare productions are low compared to some other country. So there is an excellent manpower that is already available, aquatic resources are there, and we'll be able to increase the fish production. And often we say that Andhra Pradesh is the #1 leading country because a landlocked state like Telangana has shown that it is possible to increase the fish production and be not only self-sufficient, can also export into the future, as KTR has said, starting with aquafarm. Now I'm looking at the future. Now we say China is the leader, okay, major exporter of fish and also a major importer of fish because of huge domestic consumption. But here in case of India, our consumption is much lower. Statistics 5 kilos to 9 kilograms, but in a big country like India with the different feeding habits and all that, it's very difficult to put in a national average because in states like Gujarat, it may be 2 to 3 kilograms per capita, but in states like Orissa and Bengal, it could be 40 or 50 kilo. So here there is an opportunity to increase the domestic market because domestic market is very low now, as of now. So if we are talking of increasing the production, we have to also see that our domestic market has to be improved. So how do we do that? How do we increase the per capita consumption of the fish? Right? Now I take the example of what the poultry section has done few years back. They bombarded the media. The egg is a very good protein, animal protein. It should be consumed like that. So we need a media bleach to bring awareness among the population that fish is a healthy food and better, I should say that, better than any animal protein. So once that is done, I think the consumption level will increase.
So can you come out with a slogan, sir? You know, the catchy slogan, remember, Sunday ho ya Monday, rose khao ande. You should come out with something like that for fish as well.
Yes, sir. We
Then
should.
only-
Yeah. So that is one is increasing the domestic consumption that we have been talking about. And also the way that we have been marketing the fish, again, is not that in a good hygienic condition, whether it is in cities and the rural areas. Again, I go to the poultry, what is that has done? You see, ready to eat, you know, instead of cleaning. So we can develop some outlets. Well, as again, Telangana has begun showcased that one, you know, opened the modern fish markets and also kiosks and things like that. So transportation of fish, you know, from the production center to the consumption consumers has to be improved that one. So all these if done, we can increase the local demand and also increase the production and also contribute to the globally. Now we are looking at the other side of the export. Okay, we are exporting about $8 billion worth of fish now. A country like small country like Vietnam is exporting $11 billion of fish. So my question is why we are not able to do that with more aquatic resources.
Sir, only I'm asking questions. You only please give answers.
So now there is a will, because I tell you that again, going back, you know, the fisheries sector has not received the attention in the past, in spite of its contribution to the livelihoods, in spite of its contribution to the food security, in spite of its contribution to the protein securities. But only in the last 8 to 10 years, the realization has come the fish could be a part of the food security debate. Because in the past, any policy debates, fish was not included. It's only in the last few years, I think, that we have been taking.
I have one quick point to add to what Sir said. You know, in India, especially in my state, there's this traditional religious belief that at the onset of monsoon, you have to consume fish. It's called Mrigashira. What we are now launching, you know, latching onto that sentiment, is a fish festival for 3 days in all the districts. We are setting up 30 different fish stalls with variety of preparations so that the consumption increases.
Yeah.
Because it will help both like the fish farmers and also the people by way of improving their health. So we are launching this, something you can recommend for the rest of the country as well.
Yeah, sure. Sir.
And sir, in the meantime, you're still waiting for that catchy line to come.
I will think about it because we don't want to come about that.
By the end of this panel, sir.
Yeah.
All right. To the milk and animal husbandry then, and everybody has been applauding on what milk as a cooperative, as a segment has done and how we are on to becoming the milk producer to the world. A lot of numbers that you keep sharing, Mr. Sirdi, but what is the next 10 years now looking at the kind of production that we have? The last 1 year clearly has been high on milk inflation. We've seen weather and unseasonal rains and climate change and various other things as well. But the next 10 years, whether it's about technology, innovation, I know we were discussing a lot of things over the dinner last evening as well. So what is happening and how are we looking at the next 10 years now?
Well, first of all, because everybody is here, I like to congratulate the Telangana government. Because I've been attending last my 40-year career many such conclaves, but never seen all stalwarts of Indian food industry at one place. That is so, and also to the organizers, and talking not only one subject, every subject of food, and very, very clear, crispy, visionary at the leadership. That's very impressed. Manisha ji, first let me tell you, we are talking about dairy, which is a part of food. And we are very lucky that we are in a country of 140 crore or 1.4 billion stomachs, and which is growing, which will be 165 crore by 2050. And also, if all over world, if you see where is the most potential for the food sector or organized food sector, it is India. If I give some numbers, Indian food industry is around 50 lakh crore. But fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for the sector, unorganized is very small. It is only, I can say, around 6 lakh crore, 12%. And half of that is dairy. And remaining all poultry, meat, agriculture, all is little half. But a major change in organized dairy sector, or I can say tipping point, has come during COVID. But suddenly whole world has realized the importance of food grower or producer, importance of food companies, the supply chain member, distributor and retailers. And I'm very happy everybody sitting here, they are a producer, they are industry people, they are retailers in the food are sitting here. In dairy, if you talk out of this 3 lakh crore, sir, every 25 years, dairy production multiplies by 3x. Professor Ramesh Chand mentioned 24% to the world dairy production India is contributing. But if you go back 50 years back, we were contributing only 6% or around 24 million metric ton producing. 25 years back, we were contributing only 14%. And our milk production was around 74. And today, again, 3x multiply and contributing 24. The way we are growing at 5.5 to 6%, even if we take 5.5 or 5.8, another 25 years we'll be producing around 620 million metric ton, 3x. And that will be 45% of the world milk production. And out of that, 50% will be organized. And coming to your question of dairy in next 10 years, today if it is 3 lakh crore organized dairy, out of around 10 lakh crore total dairy, another 10 years, this industry will be minimum, organized will be 10 lakh crore, and total will be around 20 lakh. You give me an example of the industry which is 10 lakh crore, organized in another 10 years. And all I think is that is applicable not to dairy because all the food industry people are there. If you want to grow Indian food industry, the only mantra is give more to the producer, give more to the consumer. If you provide a very stable and remunerative price to the food producer, be it poultry, dairy, agriculture, fruits, vegetable, and also at a very affordable price, good product, make available to the consumer, both consumer will consume more, and that is going to happen. Reason is that with the income level increasing, prosperity increasing, average consumer is spending more on food, and in food also they are upgrading themselves from merely carbohydrate-based diet to more of protein and fat-rich. And their animal husbandry producers coming into dairy, poultry, meat, fisheries, all these are coming into, or the oil thing. So one side is that is growing. So other side, if you consume more because it is available at affordable price, farmer will be encouraged to produce more because he is also going to get remunerated price. And this is only possible in India, which is both side masses involved, but both side lower middle class people. Is the biggest challenge to the dairy industry or the food industry, whether in poultry, everything is the supply chain efficiency.
You know, Mr. Sodhi, a lot of conversation has gone around on why haven't the other industries or other commodities or other agriculture food products have imbibed in the cooperative culture. We've seen that debate a lot of time, but it hasn't really happened.
You see, whether other cooperative structures in like fisheries and other imbibe on, I give example of Telangana only, sir. Because last 40 years I'm in the dairy, I joined Amul. When I joined Amul 40 years back, there were two brands at the top competing with each other, Amul and Vijaya. And you know history. I mean, where it is basically depend upon the leadership, both political leadership as well as the professional leadership. So any industry, any cooperative, whether any this, because of masses involved both the side, you can't say only the professional. Because when cooperatives are there, it's a democratic setup. You need very selfless, dedicated political leadership to take, to aggregate the producer or the farmers, and also need political leadership to attract, retain, protect best the professional leadership. So whether any cooperative which has been successful in India, their example, and same is the reason for the decline of any cooperative also.
All right. So we know where to applaud or point fingers at then. Mr. Sivakumar, this one is to you then. And we look at ITC for various things. But tell us, there has been conversation about various food products. I want to talk to you about, on one side, there are various FTAs happening. We've already talked about on how important the political will into this is. On the other side, there is about changing lifestyle preferences. Millets was a national thing on 2018. Now it's an international millet of years in 2023. So there's lots changing, and then technology is coming into it. A lot of apps is something that we can applaud you for. So how have the last 10 years been, if you can quickly summarize that for us, and what are you now envisioning for the next 10 years?
Thanks, Manisha. Before we look at operationally what might happen, let me do a preamble in terms of what is difference between last 10 years and next 10 years on two aspects that have been talked about just now. One is a very conducive policy that will catalyze, and second is an enabling ecosystem that will catalyze. So the difference between the last 10 years and next years on the same two elements is very fundamental. Two aspects. One is that from the times when we were 1.2 kilos per capita to already at 1.9 and moving forward, in that era, all policy was production driven. Now, as we move forward, it needs to be far more demand responsive. So how do you create that? From a supply chain mindset, we move to a value chain mindset. And that shift is a lot more fundamental than what typically people would imagine. So it's not enough to create productivity, production, processing, but how do you make it demand responsive? Everybody has already pointed out there is plenty of demand which is possible, but how do you channelize in a manner that it becomes more value enhancing is one shift. The second shift is that in the past, we have largely looked at multiple elements of policy as independent policy initiatives, which were all required and made sense in a production-driven system. But they led to a lot of unintended negative consequences. And therefore, in the next 10 years, we need a lot more systems thinking approach. Water is required free, power is required free, fertilizer is required at a lower cost because farmer is fighting a global war with all her hands tied. So you need all this. But when it is just looked in that spirit, that's what has led to water tables going down, natural resources, soil getting completely damaged, and GHG emissions not bothered about, and suddenly now we are seeing climate change, and obviously agriculture, if it rains too little there's a problem, too much there's a problem, wrong time there's a problem, and therefore how do you mitigate all? So therefore how do you really create, I'm just drawing one in the interest of time, a similar kind of policies which are just designed for one objective at a time have led to unintended consequences, and therefore how do you look at an entire systems approach to make that, and therefore the enabling environment that goes with it is taking care of both these aspects. I think that is the fundamental shift that one needs to look at. What do you envision on these two fronts going forward? And obviously the operational elements will all be related to these shifts, and how do you get the demand signals transmitted back to the production system, then becomes a very important element in whether you talked about the tech-based apps that one is building and doing it, or how do you get the collaboration occur between multiple agri-tech players so that farmer gets a complete and personalized solution. Those are the kind of things which will shift now, even on the operational front in the backdrop that I talked about.
Well, yes. Nandan, to you for your initial comments as well. And as we just spoke about, as Dr. Chand also said, soon farmers could be asking for MSP for mangoes and things that are not covered right now. We were also having a conversation earlier on how Punjab, even as it has such fertile land and only does wheat and paddy and has to import fruits and vegetables, do you think a lot of things from here on need to start changing?
So firstly, I think honored to be a part of this panel and slightly intimidated as well. I think we will be, I'll go and give my perspective and point of view with respect to how we are closer to consumers and how we are seeing demand patterns play out. And based on that, I'll give my perspective. But obviously, we're pretty much very new and nascent in the space. And given Instamart or quick commerce in general as a category has evolved over the last 2-3 years, while food delivery has been there for 8 years. But coming specifically to your question, I think based on at least what I was looking at from a data point of view, when we are talking about, let's say, diversification and what are the other things to look at, I think we maybe need to also shift the conversation a little bit from saying, hey, what else outside of maybe wheat and rice, to actually looking at specific interventions across the board. For example, when I was looking at data with respect to how diversification happened over the last 30 years, there's been very good movement around livestock. I think that's also led by Amul, and what has happened on the milk side of things, and a few other sectors which have done well. But I think one place where maybe things can be better is horticulture. And horticulture is incredibly complex, and we've also seen that over the last 2 years. We deal with around tens of thousands of metric tons of FNV every day, and we deal with a lot of small farmers as well. And what we've seen is some of the challenges are with respect to how much wastage there is of horticulture, and the lack of infrastructure from a cold chain, storage and supply chain point of view, which does. And this is basically what we've seen across the country as well. Primarily, one of the reasons why a lot of players on the consumer side face some difficulties is because of this wastage not necessarily having a lot of reliability of supply for the consumer, where things are not in stock, or there is a lot of issues with respect to quality because of some of these infrastructural problems. I think that's one probable key area that needs to be solved. I think one of the interventions or one of the ways to think about it is be a little more specific, saying, hey, can we actually really go after solving for horticulture? Can we actually really go after solving for maybe storage, supply chain, cold storage, etc., and try to maybe take a leaf out of probably what Amul's done, where that probably the movement there didn't start off by saying what else can we do outside of wheat and rice. It started by saying how can we empower and enable the Kaira dairy farmers, right? And that is basically the kind of missionary driven approach that is needed for, let's say, saying, hey, listen, we want to be able to really enable this particular vertical and help that, versus being maybe a little more generic and actually kind of look at specific interventions across the board. I think that's maybe a good place to start.
All right. So with that, we have had the first initial comments, and what is top of our mind of our panelists in. I'll ask you all some questions now and would ensure or would request very short answers, one-line answers perhaps, and what comes to your mind with those kind of things. Sir, I'll start with you. Climate change is a big thing right now. What are you as a government doing to ensure that it doesn't come in your way as you plan in another 10 years?
That's a loaded question. I don't think you have a one-word answer or one-sentence answer. You have to balance out, in this country full of extremes, where you have extreme rainfall and extreme drought. The only way to do this is by building more reservoirs where you store water in the time of plenty and use it in the time of a drought. That sort of balancing is what Telangana has done. Therefore, our dependence on rain-fed crops has come down in a big way. That is something the rest of the country needs to emulate. Even a small country like Zimbabwe has a 6,500 TMC capacity reservoir. And in India, the largest reservoir is only a 600 TMC. So we need more of those across the country. We need to harvest at the time of plenty and use it at the time of drought.
We do know that, Dr. Chand, don't we? But I want to stop watching movies where the Kisan is still looking in the sky. I want to watch movies where we are doing irrigation. I mean, do we have that coming?
Last 6 years, every year we have increased area under irrigation by 1 percentage point. Now, more area is irrigated than what is rain-fed. So this change happened in year 2020, that we have now 53% area under irrigation and only 47% area that is rain-fed.
So
That
we've
is
done
one
a lot,
aspect.
but with the kind
Yeah, I'm
climate
coming.
change is happening.
Yeah, I'm coming. But even if we use 100% of our irrigation potential, still you will find that 1/3 area will be rain-fed. But rain-fed doesn't mean we can't address the water requirement of the crop. There are different ways, even to address the moisture stress, etc., etc. Coming to climate change, irrigation is one way of mitigating effect of high temperature, drought, etc. But there are many other ways. You see, climate change has not started happening just suddenly in year 2010 or year 2020. It has been happening, realized, last 20, 30 years. And there were forecasts that because of climate change, wheat yield will come down by so much percent, rice yield will come down by so much percent. But science has countered the adverse effect of climate change so far. In coming, it is possible 10, 15 years, science will again be countering the adverse effect of climate change because there is some adaptability mechanism within plant. You get a gene which is tolerant to temperature of 46, 47, put it in the crop, so that way it is possible. But beyond that point, I think it will become impossible. Even adaptation will not help. That is why we need to go for mitigation and mitigation at global level. The effect of climate change which happen in India is not only because of what Indians are doing, but a farmer in Brazil do affect agriculture in India. But a farmer do in India affect agriculture in Mexico. So since this is a global phenomena, that's why COP conferences are there, that science will enable us to adapt. But ultimately, we must pay attention to mitigation, and for mitigation, action has to be at local level, but we need to have those commitments from all actors, all stakeholders, and all countries.
Dr. Gupta, what's your sense on that? Because March was the hottest year in 122 years, and then we've seen unseasonal rain. So when you look at aquaculture as a subject, how is climate change impacting you? I mean, other subjects also, there is pollution and there is overfishing. There's just way too much that you would need to keep an eye on.
Yes, because of the pollution and the overfishing, that's why we are the production from the natural resources like the seas and the rivers have gone down. That's why we have been talking of increasing the production from aquaculture. With all the water resources that we have an excellent potential for increasing, as I said earlier, also for meeting the local demand and also for the export that we have been talking about. Now, in the last few years, enabling policies and interest has been created by both the state government and also the central government, and also industry is coming forward to take advantage of these policies and the interest of the government. So I see a very bright future for the fisheries sector to contribute to the global and also the country's economy and also the food security.
Mr. Sodhi, how do you look at the next 10 years when it's about climate, and how do you see it impacting animal husbandry, cattle stock, and dairy as a subject?
As a climate,
how prepared are we? I mean, we understand what we are doing in sense of fiscal measures and policy measures and various things happening. How prepared are we with climate when we look at all of these?
well, I think all the industries is very much concerned about the sustainability and the emission. And it is our responsibility also that we should ensure that to the next generation we are able to give the same word which we got this thing. And it's everybody duty. But Manisha ji, I like to on sustainability and climate. It's a very hot topic. Everybody is talking. I'll just give you one anecdote. About year back, I had gone to Vancouver to attend International Dairy Federation board meeting. And after the board meeting, they took us to a farm to show us organic dairy farmer. And we were 7 members. As soon as we alighted from the car, one of the farmer who was the owner, he immediately said, "Hello, Mr. Sodi, how are you?" And I was surprised how in this part of the world this fellow knows me. And he said, "Mr. Sodi, do you recognize me?" I said, "No." He said, "It's okay, but you may have forgotten me, but 4 years back, I heard you in Quebec in some conference, and you said one line, the liner which you wanted to expect, which I must have narrated to at hundreds of thousands of platforms on this environment and sustainability." I said, "I had forgotten." So he told me, "You said sustainability starts when stomachs are full. Sustainability starts when stomachs are full." Actually, this climate, environment, sustainability is a very good word, but you have to see from the perspective of all. If you ask a farmer, what do you mean by sustainability? His only answer is livelihood. I want to earn my food. And you ask any state governments, what do you mean by sustainability? And for them, the sustainability is providing livelihood to 140 crore people as well as the employment. You ask any of the business people here, for them sustainability is the profits or bottom line. You ask any environmentalist, for them sustainability is what we are talking emission. But if you ask sustainable to the consumers, what they will say? For them sustainability is affordable food, affordable living conditions. So we have to see when we are talking about environment, it's a very good point and we all have to contribute. But nevertheless, let me tell you, in dairy, animal husbandry is the most sustainable thing. The God has created earth interdependent on 3 things: plants, human being, and animal. We all are dependent on each other. Nobody can survive without, even plants can't survive without animal. Same as human being. So we have to see what are the other areas of saving environment. Animal husbandry is one part, but it should not be made a scapegoat or a tool to exploit the developing countries, because they are becoming more and more self-sufficient in food, which is impacting the markets of developed economy.
Fair point.
Thank you.
Mr. Sivakumar, this one is to you. I don't want to talk to you about climate now. I want to talk about the next 10 years and the very fast pace, the way our lifestyles are changing. There is more disposable income, there are more working population, there is younger population in India, there are alternate proteins, there also is lab-grown meats and lab-grown foods coming into the market. There is just so many changes coming in. What is the world that you envisage 10 years down from here when you look at food?
You didn't ask me about climate, but let me link it up with climate anyway and deal with this question. I think I draw the analogy from IT industry that India has participated in over the last over 2 decades, and what food industry will participate in the coming years. We had initially started participating on the basis of the labor cost arbitrage, and then moved through skill building and infrastructure creation at a higher value IT industry. Very similarly, what is going to happen in the food industry, and we are seeing early signs through all these FTAs and all that you referred a little earlier, is alternate supply chains built on climate arbitrage. Alternate supply chains as in, it's not normal trade transaction that I engage with an importer from India, or I engage with a consumer through whatever channel in some metro market and so on. But you actually have a long-term relationship exactly the way a large global company says, here is my IT order signed up for the next 5 years of $500 million. That's how the alternate supply chains in food are going to get built. Because if you just look at next 75 years for which scenarios have been built by IPCC on climate, various kind of temperature ranges, we see that where we are growing some crops now, we will just not be able to grow them 20 years from now. And where we are not growing certain crops, we are better off growing those crops in that area. So I think preparing that is how the alternate supply chains will work, but in conjunction with demand, because I said demand responsive is a crucial factor. And then it will plug in all these different elements that you talked about. What is the value addition? What are the consumer looking for? And then how do you create an alternate supply chain at the back end? I think that is going to be the key shift that we will see.
Okay, my final round of comments from everybody now, and Nandan, I'll start with you on this. What is your 10-year vision in food industry, and what is that one priority you think needs to be done like now?
So, like adding to the earlier thing I mentioned, I think there is a lot of maybe investments required into certain specific areas of infrastructure like cold chain storage, etc. for anything to basically really make sense later on as well. That's, I think, one key area of focus. But I think the next one is probably going to be around food processing and just breaking that into a couple of sectors, right? One, I think what we've seen in the country is a lot of brands have been, like, I think Amul and ITC are obviously stalwarts there with respect to having really taken, built incredible consumer brands on the back of agricultural products and really built supply chains and infrastructure across the board. I think the one thing that in general hasn't maybe evolved to the level that that it maybe should have is modern retail, or basically in general the evolution of retail has probably not necessarily caught up to pace with how some of the brands have taken off. I think we need a lot more investment and we need a lot more evolution of that retail landscape to happen. I think that's incredibly important because the more demand there is also locally and the more formats of retail there are, etc., there is going to be this ecosystem is just going to get built up. So I think that's one thing that I see at least basically evolving over the next 10 years. The second space I think in food processing is probably even Horeca, as and I've seen this firsthand myself. I was actually a restaurateur in Hyderabad a decade ago, and I kind of basically saw the difficulties that restaurateurs face with respect to just handling a menu, right? There is just not enough Horeca food processing units in the country that can help restaurateurs be able to scale their operation. For example, obviously we've maybe there has been news about this also. The kind of craze that, let's say, Hyderabadis have for biryani is incredible, but once it and while there's a lot of restaurateurs who are able to do it at a single unit level, for me to open maybe 10 restaurants, it gets incredibly difficult because the back end supply chain and the investments needed are massive. And at some level, if you were to think about it, that would probably help increase not just farmer incomes but also the overall ecosystem quite a bit if we are able to actually look at Horeca and food processing together and say if the country probably needs 1 million more restaurants, right? And one data point that is always interesting is I think India overall has lesser restaurants than Beijing does, and I think probably that is the potential as well, where there is probably 1 million more restaurants that are needed, but the food processing capability for being able to handle 1 million restaurants doesn't necessarily exist right now. And I think there is a lot more that should be done in terms of being able to build that capability for us as a country.
You want to answer that in some sense?
Yeah, in fact, just a couple of things adding to what he said, Nandan said. You know, the gastronomical delights from India, in fact, are taking the world by the storm today. If you look at London, or if you look at UK, and how they lap up Indian food there, and how even in the US, in fact, the doors are getting open. You know, Indian food is becoming as popular as many other very, very important, cultural cuisines from other parts of the world. But there's, I think we've barely begun to scratch the surface, because honestly, if you think about how the soft power of Indian culture can really help even the farmers and even the baseline here, I think there's a huge, huge potential that needs to be tapped. That is something that we all can work on. The 2, 3 other things that I would quickly mention. We need to also have a fair understanding of what land holdings in India are like. In India, the land holdings are extremely small, less than 2.5 acres. The only way, a farmer can actually use drones to spray pesticides. The only way, we can have a farmer actually have access to a harvester is by Uberization of, at a block level, maybe Uberize all the agri implements, all the agri mechanization tools that we have at our disposal. Those can be Uberized. Also, if in India, in a country like India, which is as chaotic as, any on the planet, if we have to dream of autonomous vehicles, I think the only autonomous vehicle I can dream of is a tractor. Because, I don't think Indian roads will allow for an autonomous car that easily. I think autonomous tractors is something that we could do with. More importantly, community managed sustainable agriculture. I differ with Mr. Sodhi on sustainability. I don't think it's the rules of the first world to actually, kind of deny us of our rightful place, in the sunlight or sunshine. What I honestly feel, Mr. Sodhi, is there are a lot of things we can do it within the realm of being a very a country which is lower in the social ladder in terms of our per capita, etc. We can do a lot of things. We can have solar pump sets helping our farmers. We can have biogas plants actually helping our even dairy farmers. There's so many things that we can do. The little space that we have in terms of sustainability. Sustainability doesn't necessarily have to be, like green has become a fad today. They talk about green steel, green ammonia, green this, green that. Tomorrow there will be a time when they'll say green milk. So you be prepared for that. Because I think we ought to start somewhere in terms of, building puzzle by puzzle, piece by piece. And I think it is imminently doable. The fact is, Manisha, agri plus allied sectors, and with each of them being a focus. Fisheries, such large number of tanks which go unutilized, need to be tapped. Dairy, nobody needs to teach Indians how to actually, milk a cow and get going on the dairy value add. Likewise, again, nobody needs to teach Indians, who already have acquired the skill of rearing sheep and goats and other things. We talk about skill development as a fancy subject. Our chief minister always says, "What about already developed skill? What are you doing about it?" So these are the things I think if we understand, the grassroots of India, we can really focus on these issues, incentivize them, promote them, and therefore, become a leader for the rest of the world as well.
Very well spoken. So let me just ask you this thing. I know you haven't given me a one-word answer until now, but if you had to say one thing that is an opportunity for the next 10 years, what is that? Within food, within agriculture.
Within food, within agriculture, I think biomanufacturing. I think we are headed, because I already tasted an Impossible burger. Trust me, it's as good as any normal burger. And I think that's the future, because I think there is a time when veganism is going to take over. I'm sure some of you may not like this, but yeah, the time is not too far. Plant-based meat is going to happen. Biomanufacture is going to happen. We never dreamt that it would happen in our lifetime. It's already happening. And when I was in the US, I tasted it, and I can tell you, it is going to be the future and it will shape the world.
Mr. Sivakumar, one word that you see in next 10 years that defines the next 10 years for you.
Counterintuitively, I see that climate is one of the biggest opportunity that we have. If we anticipate and work both in adaptation and mitigation, because I said the next few years, like the last few years for IT industry, the future is how do you work on the climate arbitrage? And given the diverse country that we are, we already see that kind of map which is very visible. So climate change as an opportunity. Right.
While I'm at it, how would you describe Hyderabad or Telangana in one word?
I came here in 1989. All my offices have moved into multiple locations that I handle. I stayed put here. So it's a place to be in.
All right then. Dr. Chand, what would you say? What is that one word for you when it comes to food for next 10 years and your one word for Telangana?
About food and agriculture, I would say that agriculture is very, very important for us in the present, but it will be much more important in the future. Therefore, in my view, sustainability question cannot be ignored. Agriculture consume 90% water in this country, and there are many people who don't get adequate water even for drinking. If we allow the profligate, indiscriminate use of natural sources by agriculture, the future of mankind will come under threat. So agriculture has to become more efficient and more responsible in terms of sustainability, addressing climate change and the issues which are of longer term interest to the society. For Telangana, I would say that this is a state which is known for innovation. I think it has the potential to lead the country in new ways of doing agriculture in the next 10 to 25 years.
Dr. Gupta, we hope you're ready with that catchy line, sir.
Fish for health.
Fish for health. Fish for good health. Is that good to that? Yes, sir. What's your sense? What is that one word that you see as an opportunity for the coming decade?
Telangana is actually showing the way. If you look at the export potential, it's all based almost 100% on the marine fish. But the freshwater fish has not been a part of the export commodity. But Telangana, by starting this aqua hub, is showing that freshwater also, fish can also contribute to the export market. I think this is beginning, this can be a showpiece to other parts of the country and show a way. It's not only the coastal people who could benefit, but also the inland people also can benefit. And also this will increase the consumption of the fish, which is the cheapest animal protein that is possible now.
I think what I can see is for the food industry, next 10 years is going to be the golden period. And it is going to get record double-digit volume growth in food industry. You add inflation 5-6%, so 16-17%. But for that, one side, state or central government has to see where to put the resources. So resources need to be put in the industry, food, where growth is coming, potentiality is coming, not in a traditional way of grains. And other side, it is a responsibility industry that you can accelerate the growth by enlarging the size, not competing with each other, and also coming with the food in the organized basic food. There is always market for high-end niche, but basic food needs to be organized, and that is the job and responsibility of industry. Like Honorable Minister said, Monday or Sunday, Roj Kha one day, as any industry has to come, how to increase the consumption among the average Indian or lower class Indian, then only industry will grow, industry grows, farmer will grow, and prosperity will be there.
And what's your word one for Telangana? How would you describe the state? What does it mean for you?
You see, I can see Telangana is, if you want Telangana to grow any industry like IT or technology, you need to provide them a good food at affordable price. Then only you can keep wages under control. Because why India or Telangana is good in IT? Because here you will get anybody who is able to get food at affordable price. If you were to depend on imported food and then ask people to work for IT, wages will be high, then you will not be competitive in the India or the world. So being the competitive, food has to be good and affordable.
Which it is here. So, sir, last final comments from you onto this one. You know, one thing I can tell you, I've seen and I've met a lot of industry participants over the years in our conversations on the channel as well and other platforms as well. But this is the first time that they are here not to network, but to be part of this food conclave. And that says a lot. And everybody is here. And they want to be here. They want to open offices here. They want to do business with here. With the kind of conversation that you've had on the stage with them also is something that I have heard them applauding. What are you going to tell all of these companies, participants, delegates that are here today on what are you promising them now for next 10 years?
Well, I'll say a couple of things. Food is something that we can't do away with. I think as human beings, as long as humanity is going to be on this planet, food is something that is going to be an essential ingredient on a day-to-day basis. So
There is no substitute, even though, of course, we might switch to different cuisines, we might switch to superfoods, we might switch to high protein foods, we might switch to different things. Food ultimately will remain to be something that is going to be in demand. As part of the evolution, I think people will start, eating better, more and more. As was pointed out by a minister, consumption patterns will change, eating habits will change. The point is, as an industry, this is an evergreen industry. As an industry, this is something that is going to thrive, prosper. India has in it to be the granary, to be the food producer for the rest of the world. During COVID, all activities were switched off, but agriculture, but for horticulture, and but for these food processing industries, because it is something that we can't do without. Telangana today offers you a gateway as a destination, to come in, to explore all the 5 revolutions that are unfolding. We offer you policy support, we offer you incentives. Most importantly, you have a government that's extremely progressive, wants to work with you, wants to actually amend policies, change policies, to be the leader in India, and by extension, possibly at some point of time down the road, a torchbearer, a role model for the rest of the country. And I promised Mr. Sodhi, he said, keep the prices low, keep the consumption high, but prices low. I promise him. We are rated by Mercer as an agency that rates cities on a livability index. We have been rated as the #1 Indian city in India for quality of living for 5 years in a row, from 2015 until 2020. That is because we kept we are affordable, more importantly, and also we continue to remain very, very attractive. My thanks to all the participants who have come from various parts of India, because this is an eye-opener for us as well, as a government, to bring all these leaders onto one platform and one panel, understand from them, learn from them, and actually implement days to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists, so much. And I can tell you one thing, that when you talk about agriculture and food processing and the kind of subjects and kind of industries that we have on panel, there is just so much to talk. But as Sir has promised, and I'm taking his word on that, this is just the beginning. There's a whole day today, and this is happening every year now, because it's an annual fixture, yes. There is just so much conversation to have had, and as he said, the state is doing amazingly well. Thank you so much for being an amazing audience, and thank you, panelists, for your time. Thank you.
I now request Jayesh sir, please, to felicitate the panelists of our inaugural panel today.